Hello, everybody. Welcome to the YA Fantasy Panel with Bookmarks. This is going to be really fun. We've got a few wonderful authors here celebrating their books with us today. They're going to start off with a little bit of reading. It'll not be any more than about 1 to 2 minutes. Don't think there'll be too many spoilers, but I imagine everybody's pretty much gotten to the books. We're going to start off with a little bit from Fable first, which is absolutely delightful. So I'm going to let her take it away.
Hi,
Right, you should be up now.
Hi. Welcome. Thanks for having me. I'm going to read a little excerpt from chapter, I think it's chapter 3-ish, 4-ish, something like that, of Fable. I reached into the tiny pocket I'd sewn into the waist of my pants, prying the last of my coppers free. I hadn't given them every copper. Those 6 coins were the very first I'd ever earned, and I'd never spent them. I'd saved them for the most desperate of moments. Now they were all I had left. But 6 coppers would only keep me fed and sheltered for a day or so in the city. If we were stopping in Durn, it would be my only chance to try and multiply my coin before we reached Saros. If I didn't, I'd have to show up on Saint's doorstep empty-handed, something I swore to myself I'd never do. The board creaked in the passageway, and my hand went straight to my belt, pulling my knife free. I stared into the shapeless, empty dark, waiting for another sound as I tucked the coppers back into the little pocket. But there was only the thrum of the storm creeping toward Javal, the knock of a door closing as the ship tilted. I clutched the knife to my chest, listening. Only a few days. That's how much longer I had to survive. Then I'd be at my father's door asking him for what he promised me, what he owed me. I reached beneath the sleeve of my shirt, finding the thickly roped scar that was carved into my arm. My finger followed it up like a maze of blood-filled veins in a pattern I had memorized. It was my father who'd given it to me, the day he left me on Javal. I had watched in horror as he dragged the tip of his knife through my flesh without so much as a twitch of his hand. I told myself it was the madness of losing my mother that made him do it, that his mind had been fractured by grief. But I remembered the soft set of his mouth as he cut me, the way his head tilted to the side as my blood ran over his fingers. I'd done nothing since the last time I saw him but dream of the moment I'd see him again. I'd thought of nothing else. And now that it was so close, my stomach turned, my pulse skipping unevenly. The man who taught me to tie knots and read maps wasn't the same man who'd put the knife soaked with my blood back into his belt and sailed away. Soon I'd be in Saros, and I wasn't sure anymore which man I would find.
There we go. I loved Fable so much, and I'm so excited for the sequel.
Thank
It's
you.
just so wonderful. Is there anything brief that you wanted to say about Fable before I let Renee read her a little bit?
Fable, if you haven't read it, is a story of a girl who was left on an island 4 years ago by her father the night after his ship sank and her mother drowned. And the book is about her journey in trying to find her way off the island and get back to her father and claim her place on his crew. And of course, things don't go as planned and things get complicated. And she's forced to trust a mysterious young trading crew that kind of get her into more trouble than she bargained for. So it's the first of a duology. The second one comes out on March 16th. So this is one of 2 books, and we don't have to wait too long for the second one.
Well, I'm excited that we don't have to wait because I adore Fable, and I love the mysterious leader of the crew. I'm not going to name him because I don't want to spoil anything, but all right, I'm going to bring Renee on now, and she's going to read a little bit from The Damned.
It was like kind of frozen. Can people hear me? Is this working?
You're up now. I can hear you, so hopefully it'll work. Okay. I'm going to mute and take myself off the screen now if you want to.
Oh, okay, good. Awkward. Okay, hi everyone. My name is Renee. I am here to read a short excerpt from The Damned. So excited to be here with the lovely Kat and Roshani and Adrienne. I loved Adrienne's excerpt. She does tension so well. It's just strung so tightly. It's wonderful. I'm going to read from the very beginning of The Damned. It is a minor spoiler. It was out in July. Sorry, not sorry. Anyway, so first there is nothing. Only silence, a sea of oblivion. Then flashes of memory take shape, snippets of sound. The laughter of a loved one, the popping of wood sap in a fireplace, the smell of butter melting across fresh bread. An image emerges from the chaos, sharpening with each second. A crying young woman, her eyes like emeralds, her hair like spilled ink, leans over him, clutching his blood-stained hand, pleading with him in muffled tones. Who am I, he wonders. Dark amusement winds through him. He is nothing, no one, nobody. The scent of blood suffuses his nostrils, intoxicatingly sweet. Like lechosa from a fruit stand in San Juan, its juice dripping down his shirt sleeves. He becomes hunger, not a kind of hunger he's ever known before, but an all-consuming void. A dull ache around his dead heart, a blast of bloodlust searing through his veins. It knifes through his stomach like the talons on a bird of prey. Rage builds in his chest. The desire to seek and destroy, to consume life, let it fill the emptiness within him. Where there was once a sea of oblivion, there is now a canvas painted red, the color dripping like rain at his feet, setting his world aflame. My city, my family, my love. Who am I? From the fires of his fury, a name emerges. Bastion. My name is Sebastian Sanchermain. Uh-oh. I think we might have a little bit of a technical issue here. I'm wondering if we can toggle to Roshani. Are we good? Okay. Oh, you're muted, hon. You're muted. There we go.
Hello? Me? Is that?
Yeah.
I'm there? Adrienne, can you be here too? I don't want to like read to like an image of myself. Adrienne, come back. Come back here. There you are. Oh, thank God. Oh, it's you. I don't want to do it. Also, okay, Adrienne, your thing was so good and I'm so scared. And then Renee read hers and now I'm also scared but hungry. I'm just so upset. I don't want to do this. Okay. I hate reading. My own
Renee with her theatrical,
lovely,
soothing voice.
Yeah, that was just so rude. And then you know how awkward I feel about even recording voicemails. I'm just gonna drink this voicemail. All right. I hate this. Ouch. Okay, here we go. At the base of the knife was an Ouroboros, a snake biting its tail. It was once the symbol of House Vanth, the house he might have been patriarch of if things had gone according to plan. If that dream of inheritance had not killed the person closest to him. And now it was all a symbol of that he would change. He knew that even if he found the divine lyrics, it would not be enough to protect the others. They'd wear targets on their backs for the rest of their lives, and that was unacceptable. And so Severin had nurtured a new dream. He dreamt of that night in the catacombs when Rue Joubert had smeared golden blood over his mouth, the sensation of his spine elongating, making room for sudden wings. He dreamt of the pressure in his forehead, the horns that bloomed and arced, lacquered tips brushing the tops of his ears. We could be gods. That was what the divine lyrics promised. If he had the book, he could be a god. A god did not know human pain or loss or guilt. A god could resurrect. He could share the book's powers with the others, turn them invincible, protect them forever. And when they left him, as he knew they'd always planned to, he wouldn't feel a thing, for he would not be human. So.
You're right. You shouldn't have read. That's terrible.
Boo.
Y'all suck. It's so rude.
Amazing. I mean,
So awkward.
the was wonderful, but the writing, I mean, yeah.
Poor
Whoever
Roshani.
you were reading, that's really
Roshani
good.
and her beautiful prose.
Yeah, poor me. That was hard to write. I'm sad. So now I'm sad, hungry, and scared. R.I.P. me. What did I say, Thursday? God. Anyway. You're so talented. I hate it. Hey, Kat.
Hello, my internet died for a second because of course.
We missed you. We were both in there. Was looking at myself, which is, staring into the void of myself. And I was like, damn it, who else is on there except for me?
Oh, God.
Left you to host the panel entirely by yourself. Surprise. All right. Well, I'm going to throw out a question of mine, and then we'll jump back and forth between some of my questions and some of the questions that people have already sent in. They've got some pretty lovely ones. So let's do that if we're ready. All right. So the first one I thought we'd start off, a little bit fun with the questions. Ooh. So in honor of what CW shows give us, the drama and the incredible soundtracks, if any of your books were to get a CW adaptation, what scene would you most like to see on the screen, and which song would you love played over it?
I wouldn't care as long as somebody could get that guy who played Damon Salvatore. What's his name? Ian. I don't know, like, very beautiful man. Very beautiful. He can say something. So I think the beginning scene of The Beautiful, I would love to see that. It would probably give me chills to see on the screen. And some kind of jazz would be wonderful. That, like, maybe something by Coltrane, or just anything by M98, because I write a lot to M98. So
that would be good.
There's a dancing scene in The Gilded Wolves that is so awkward for me to write that thinking about it is making my hand itchy. So I would like to see that underneath a blanket, of course. And I'm trying to think what song. I write a lot. Well, I don't actually write a lot to music, but I like to set a scene or something in my head. I listen a lot to Glass Animals. So maybe Toes or Gooey, whichever song. I can't remember. I was about to sing it because I've lost it. But anyway, one of those.
If I was going to pick a scene, it would be the underwater kiss scene in the book. I won't spoil it, even though I released art for it. And then everyone was like, that's a spoiler. And I was like, oh, sorry. I would love to see that on the screen. I don't know what song I would do. Something, I guess, from the Fable playlist. But I don't know. I would have to think about it.
I associate your work with the entire discography of Hosier. I don't know why. I'm just obviously something like that.
I have
from Vikings. The soundtrack from Vikings. I associate.
Yes. Oh my God. Wait, completely unrelated, but I saw Alexander Ludwig, who plays Bjorn, because he was wandering in Atlanta, and dude is tall and real pretty. And so I almost had to fling my husband at his way and just be ask him if he has a medical problem, if his bones are okay or something. But it didn't work, and he didn't do it. He hates me.
He is very pretty.
He's real pretty. Whew.
All right. So in that same kind of vein, I guess, you know what, we'll go to a person. I did see one that I think we could go ahead and ask. Nessa wanted to know, Roshani, where did you get your necklace from? I don't know if it was already.
This is from a sale that was on Outnet. I lose a lot of my money on Outnet and Net-a-Porter, Net-a-Porter. I don't know how to say it. I just buy their stuff. It's real shiny. I like it.
I almost went online and bought that same necklace to troll Roshani.
You always do this, and then no one thinks I have my own original style. They just think I just took it from you. But I do my own shit. It's so rude. It's not fair. Oh, no one believes me. This is fine. It would probably look better on you too, and Adrienne.
What are you talking about? It's amazing on you. I didn't get it because you dropped that really well, so it's good.
I do well.
All right. I'll read another one from them. Let's see. Here's one from Susie, our lovely Susie from TAC, who is off at college now.
Aww.
Oh, I know. All right. She wants to know what's you guys' favorite color and why.
My favorite color is green, and it has been since I was really little. And I'm not really totally sure why, but like literally everything in my closet is black, gray, or green, and it's the majority green.
Renee.
Oh gosh, this is tough. So I should probably say black because most of the clothes in my wardrobe are black, but black is what is black? Black is all the colors, white is the absence of color. I'm red. If I was going to pick an actual color, red. I like red a lot. It's the color of blood.
I knew you were going to say that. It's not fair because my two favorite colors are green and red. So once more, it looks like I have no originality. And I just from Adrienne and Renee to get by in life, and that's fine. That's okay with me. I'm clearly making good choices.
Red is like the power color, right?
Yeah.
It's like I guess it's like a sign of a person who's probably slightly unstable.
Word. I mean, honestly, don't you kind of need to be a little bit unstable to like write?
Yes.
I feel that as it's
Yeah, to do what we do, to occupy these fictional worlds, we really can't truly be functioning on like one earthly plane. We're like 10 on 10 different levels. So
I remember I was talking early on with Roshani when I first met her. We were talking about the fact that it's funny. Writers are asked to sit down with our computers and think up the worst possible situation for our characters. So we're disaster artists in front of the computer, and it feeds into the natural anxiety that I found that most of us already cultivate actively. And then the funny thing is, you're supposed to go in here and find everything that's wrong with your character, everything that's wrong with the story, everything that's wrong with your book. You know, be a disaster artist. Away from your computer and you look at your family and you go and you're supposed to be normal instead of like what's wrong with this situation, what could I fix about this person, and it's not a healthy existence. We have to figure out how to switch it on and off, which is just not realistic. So yeah, I'm here for the next 41 minutes. Yes.
all right. So next question, kind of in the same vein as the first one, I guess I would say. But would you guys prefer a live action adaptation of your books, animated, or even a video game?
Yes.
All of them.
yeah.
I honestly, it was funny. I didn't think I would love animation as much as I did until like Webtoon made a version of Wrath in the Dawn, and I'm so in love with what they've done with it. And it's so fantastic because everyone's like, "I love what you did with this." I was like, "I had nothing to do with it. This is great." Thank you.
Yeah,
That
like,
was so
I
good.
want the graphic novel and the comic and the children's show and the adult animated and the live action, and I want all the things.
Yes, all of it. Yes.
We're putting it into the universe now. Just give it to us. I'm like thinking about the individual rights and permissions, just to be like, that's a person, that's a person, that's vacation.
Like this, like you were making it right.
I'm very popular at adult establishments. Somebody will fall on the floor.
You're not responsible because you're only doing it once. You're not like.
One time I practiced that before my bachelorette, like how to truly make it right, and I was so bad at it. I just lost so much money. So we didn't do it.
What were we doing that I can't remember they did that? Oh, okay.
I don't know. Anyway, it's fine. It's fine.
Let's go for another crowd question. Let's see. Okay. So Chastity says, all of you are such amazing writers and ladies in general. What is the first story that you ever wanted to write but didn't?
Don't. Go ahead. Roshani. I'm calling you out.
No, you think you know, but I'm going to say that you don't. It's the very first story that I like actively queried to literary agents. And it was so stupid. Please steal this idea. It was a girl named Alice Burks whose name is an anagram for Excalibur. So I guess the plot twist was that she was King Arthur's sword.
Like she herself wasn't.
Oh my God.
No, okay, you were actively querying this. That means that it exists.
Yeah, it exists. It's in my laptop. Like she lost her face, and so she had to like go through a bunch of fairy tales to find it.
She lost her face. I need this book. I need this book so hard. You know, like,
don't mock my art.
I'm not mocking your art. This is shared. I need to see this. Please don't.
It's so bad. I looked at it because I was looking at old queries the other day to make myself feel better, and I'm like, look how far you've come. But then I read the sample chapter, and I was like, oh my God. Oh, I can't. Okay, somebody else go. Help me.
Query was in second person, like Uncle Sam wants you. I thought I was like really. It didn't work. What was the question?
The story that you wrote first that like never saw the light of day, etc.
Oh, okay. So actually, this sounds like a contrived answer, but it's entirely true. I tried to write a version of The Beautiful when I was a teenager. Some of the first stuff I ever wrote was like basically fan fiction before fan fiction was my first writing. Brilliant. Nancy Drew fan fiction. Self-insert of me in the trio of Nancy, George, and Bess. And so like it was good stuff. It was awful. Then the thing that I tried to write was I fell in love with Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles. I tried to write my first sort of iteration of The Beautiful, and I found it very daunting, and it wasn't. It didn't sound like Anne Rice, so I
You're like, what's wrong with this? Why doesn't it sound like Anne Rice?
Yeah, it's so hard. I went in and I underlined all the words I liked in her writing, and then I tried to like make a salad. It was
I'm trying to think of one that I didn't actually ever write, but I mean, my first book ever was like, it was a YA book that had every trope. If it was a trope, it was in this book somehow. Like, I don't even know how it all came together, but every side character had a trope. Like, it was just, I'm gonna throw it all in there together. The only other one I can think of is right after the 2016 election.
Uh-oh.
It was like I sold Sky in the Deep like right after that, but I had this like impassioned inspiration to like write this book about an adult novel about a whistleblower.
but like, what? There are like really like I think books that are doing really well with whistleblower.
Yes.
Like
It's
like,
just how you said it that
No,
made me laugh.
the reason it was
whistleblower about. I want to know.
the reason it was funny, it wasn't even developed enough to know. I was just like, it's going to be a woman who blows the whistle on these.
That's it. Done.
But one of my friends, I was talking to her about it, and I was like, and then this could happen, and this could happen. And she was like, that's like the Pelican Brief. Or like, and she started naming all of these like movies and stuff that are like have whistleblowers. And I was like, oh yeah, it is. I guess that's not an original idea at all. Also, like, can you imagine me coming out with a adult whistleblower thriller, political thriller, right now? Like, Guy in the Deep, Fable, political thriller. Not that I couldn't. I mean, I could do it, but
I would buy it.
I'd buy it too. I'd buy it too. Just off of that pitch alone. That's the Pelican Brief. I'll read it.
Denzel Washington was really hot in the movie, so
Yeah.
Before I ask my next question, I did want to mention Roshani. You saying that she was basically King Arthur's sword, for some reason made me think of that scene in Breaking Dawn Part 2 during the fight scene where Edward literally picks Bella up and like swings her. I don't know why. Just like imagining the scenes in that book and him literally picking her up and swinging her around.
There's such a cave of wonders to mine there, like of metaphors and everything. It's just it's good shit. It's good shit, Rosh. I really think, and somebody called you out in the comments over here, so I'm gonna go ahead and go with it. Somebody called you out about the Santa Claus one. I thought you were gonna say Santa Claus.
I wasn't, because I am going to write it. You can't stop me just because you talk. Oh, someone screenshot her face. Look, she's so mad.
I'm not.
I do what I want.
All right.
2020 can't stop me. Anyway.
All right, next question. This is one of mine. Let's see. Okay. So if you could add one thing to your books and not have anybody question it, what would it be? As wild as
Obviously my thing.
Time travel. I've always wanted to do something with time travel, and everybody has scared the crap out of me when it comes to time travel. I just want to write a time travel book and nobody be like, actually, so this can happen. And I'm like, it's nobody can time travel.
yeah, when you start messing with like science, people are like, so
rude.
Yeah, it's because we're writers, and the truth is probably I can only speak for myself, and I think Roshani, I don't know, were you good at science and math? I can't remember.
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Exactly. Like, was so bad at science and math. Like it works. I said it works. That's why.
I used to write my husband's papers in high school and college, and then I would cheat off his exam for biology. So it's the only way I passed.
For AP, I wrote a story. You know, they have 2 essay questions, which just I thought was hilarious. Anyway, so I wrote a story of Calculus Man, and I drew Calculus Man because I didn't know the answer.
future author.
Children do not do what I did because my mother was really upset.
Oh my God. They should have just given, what is the highest you can get on that? A 3? No.
But that was like a 5.
Was that a 5, right?
I think it was a 5. I think I got a 2 or 3.
It's actually pretty impressive.
The lowest you can get to call yourself passing. It didn't matter. I was a senior. I was already going to school, whatever.
I love this.
I don't know. I'm trying to think. I think I would want to write like a historical fiction on some like really obscure, really, I don't know, like something that some time period or something where I didn't have to do all the research. Because the research is so brutal when you're doing historical fiction. That's like when people call Sky in the Deep historical fiction, I'm like, it's not historical fiction. Don't hold me to that bar. I will fail. But people like to read historical fiction.
It's totally intense.
Yeah, I just bullshit my way through like. But I mean, it's not meant to be historical fiction, but that bar is so high that I'm like, which both of you have like majorly historical elements in your books, which is so impressive to me because the level of like accountability, you know, like
I don't know, man. I feel like when people write contemporary books, because like no one's alive now who was alive in 1872, so nobody can come to me and be like, actually, that building was anyway. But if you're writing contemporary, like I've talked to people who are like, yeah, people will come to me and be like, that's not how that smells. I live there, and it's like,
cool.
like I can't argue with you. I guess.
Thank you.
It's true.
All right, let's see. Trying to find one. There's a lot of good questions. Oh, okay. So this one, let's see. What is your advice for weaving in backstories into action-packed manuscripts? She says she's an aspiring writer and kind of worrying a little bit about making the book slow with backstories, but also doesn't want it to be all action, as that won't give the reader a chance to really know the characters.
What was the first part of the question? I couldn't hear it.
Let me go back down to it. What is your advice for weaving in backstories into action-packed manuscripts?
So there isn't a family-friendly way to tell this story. So anyway, so I remember talking to a friend of mine about how brilliant I think it's the first season in Game of Thrones. Littlefinger is doing a bunch of exposition, and he's doing it in the middle of a brothel. And there are brothely things going on around him as he's doing this major brothely things. Just, whatever brothely things are going on around him as he's doing this major info dump. And I remember I was talking to a writer friend of mine who coined that scene, the sex position scene. And I really appreciated that because what it told me is if you're writing anything that has backstory or exposition, find a way to integrate it into a scene that has built-in tension already, because that built-in tension will propel the narrative forward in a way that doesn't make it seem like you're just, reading passages and passages and just like, so this is what had happened this is what's happening here, and this is why this is happening. And make it active. Make it so that your character is, for me, I really enjoy doing more of a sensory experience when it comes to exposition. Like if they're eating at a table, and then you have chances to integrate, sense, taste, smell. Sense and smell are the same thing. Sense, taste, sights, whatever sounds. You can integrate all the senses into it. So I think that's always really been a benchmark for me. So I think about that when I'm writing long swaths of exposition, because you do go ahead and write it down, get the information out that you need to have written down, then go through and cull out everything that's not absolutely necessary. So you don't have a huge block of text, and then find a way to integrate it into a scene that has built-in tension.
What she said.
Yeah, I totally agree. The only other thing I would add to that is just like being very intentional about your timing of any, like using, like, I have to get XYZ backstory in there. Sprinkle it. Don't just give it. The reader doesn't need all of the information up front. And I think a lot of times, at least when I was a new writer and I was learning how to tell a story, I felt like, well, I have to give the reader all the context. They have to fully understand. And the power of dragging out those details, I mean, it really serves you for your pace of your story. It serves your characters. So I would just say, be very intentional about the timing.
Also ditto.
All very wonderful advice. All right. Let me end that question. Done. Okay, so actually, this question from Chastity connects with one that I was going to ask. So basically, just off the top of y'all's heads, if you guys could all write a book together, would you? And what do you think it would be?
Y'all, what are you gonna do?
That's so hard.
Well, it would definitely need to have it would have kick-ass women in it for sure. It would have kick-ass women.
Yes, and it would have a lot of description.
Lots of
Yes.
women.
A lot of description.
There would be lots of food. Lots of food. Yeah, lots of food.
Romance. Oh my God, Theodore.
Weapons. I feel like weapons would be something that we would spend a lot of time on. I'm gonna go out, and even though Adrienne would cringe, it'll probably have historical elements in it. And
No,
then
this is
Adrienne's
perfect.
It's not historical. It's not.
No, this is perfect because I could be like, well, Renee was in charge of that piece of research. So I don't know. You'd have to ask her.
I was also thinking, I really took it to, I don't know where I went in my head. I went to this weird like Bachelor meets 12 Dancing Princesses and some sort of like alternative court where they really have to like fight with weapons for love amidst food. I don't know.
And there would be romance. There would be lots of kissing.
Lots of kissing.
Or because we're all lots of almost kissing too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're evil. We suck. Almost kissing. That's it.
Everyone
The
is like,
queens of the slow burn.
come on.
Ooh, that'd be a good book.
Everyone's telling us to write the Santa Claus book together. This is hilarious. No.
No, see, Renee brought this upon herself because one time, like 2 years ago, somebody had asked at a panel, like, share your worst story idea, and she didn't. She shared mine and said, I don't have a worst story idea, but here's Roshani's. I wasn't even there. I was in a different state.
No, I had bad ideas, but none of my bad ideas were as delicious as this one. And every single time I introduce it into conversation, because this is how she pitched it to me, and I'm going to pitch it to you. She said, so an origin story of Santa Claus.
But you didn't finish. I was talking about Christmas, and my siblings and I were talking, like, why is he all alone? Like, what if he's wearing this red coat because it's like dipped in the blood of his enemies? Where does Mrs. Claus factor into this? Like, why is he alone? Like,
why is Santa Claus and the red coat?
Henry Cavill?
Why is Santa Claus a red cat?
I don't know. I'm asking important stuff. This is the natural storyteller instinct is to interrogate the world around you. So
everyone's here for Santa Claus. I feel like now it's just becoming a thing. Now basically a gauntlet, a line has been drawn, gauntlet's been thrown, all that.
I've done something bad.
No. Please of Excalibur as an anagram person. Please send me that book.
What we could do is we could actually do a Santa Claus anthology. I'll make all of you guys write a sexy Santa Claus origin story.
All right.
Erotic Santa Claus.
Right. Okay.
Absolutely have to.
That thing would sell like hotcakes at Christmas.
Because it really is not a bad idea, FYI.
No.
I'm just saying that thing would sell a lot.
Right? No, because you would be able to remarket it every freaking Christmas.
Mm-hmm. And it could be a gag gift, but it could also be a real gift.
Yeah.
It
like,
could be
LOL, the Santa Claus, the writing is great.
We could play with, like the size of the book, so it could be a stocking stuffer.
I like it. The branding. We should just call it Sexy Santa.
Sexy Santas.
Period.
Yeah.
Period.
Santas.
Oh my God.
Calling authors and their take on why Santa is sex stuff.
Who is? We're asking this existential question. Who is Mrs. Claus?
Yeah.
Where did she come from?
Good point. Henry Cable. Somebody's over here. Yes, I'll read that.
Perfect.
Anyway, next question.
Sign contract now. So, connected to like a similar thing that you guys all write, all three of you have written romances where the two characters aren't quite enemies to lovers, but they are definitely bickering fools to lovers. What drew you? Well, I couldn't quite call them enemies to lovers, and I didn't know the terms, so I made up my own. But what drew you to writing these types of relationships? Did they just happen naturally, or did you want to write that?
I'm a huge sucker for anything enemies to lovers. I always have been, and invariably, no matter how I begin constructing the line of a romance, the arc of a romance, it eventually sort of becomes an enemies to lovers, because I really like the fact that in my mind, there's such a thin line between love and hate. In order to hate somebody, to truly hate somebody, you have to feel strongly about them already. Because if you generally didn't care, then nothing they did or said would really bother you. But to get like riled up by somebody, you care about that person already. So crossing that line to me is always really fun, as is towing that line. So.
I agree with that. I mean, I think it's especially delicious and evil when all your feelings of love come from a place of bitterness or disappointment, especially love that is rooted in fear. Especially for Severin's character, his love is very much rooted in fear. It comes from a fear of inability to protect the ones that you love. It comes from trauma that makes you fearful that you're really not worthy of the love that you've been given, and it just makes it really messy and delicious. So, yeah, pain.
I think the thing that really, I completely agree with both of those sentiments, but one of the things that really draws me to an enemies to lovers trope is the pace of it, because it's what I can relate to. So like, I feel like I can relate the most to like a slow blooming romance or something that didn't start as a romance, just because those have been like my life experiences. I've never had like a love at first sight experience, or like even though I love reading like insta love, like I've never experienced that. And so it's hard for me to feel like I can portray them well. I don't know. So I think a lot of that whole like saying like write what you know or whatever, I think a lot of times like writers are falling back on their own experiences in a way. So.
Well, now I need to know your origin romance story. I'm imagining you with like a battle axe, like hauling your way, meeting your future husband, being like, "Sup?"
It's not so much like the enemy factor. It's just that it's a slower pace of romance. Like you have to have a longer distance to walk to love.
That's beautiful.
Than if you just like saw someone. It's like love at first sight, and like I just couldn't quit thinking about them, and I was dreaming about them, and then like the clouds opened up, and angels told me I'm supposed to be with. There's a prophecy,
There's a prophecy. I love that. Renee, yours is a little enemies to lovers.
Oh yeah, totally. When I first met my husband, I liked another guy. It was during the time yesteryear of like instant messenger, when everybody had it on screen in college. And I remember at the end of the night that we were all hanging out. It was like a group of maybe like 7 or 8 of us, and it was the night I first met my husband. And we were all exchanging screen names, and I didn't want his because he had been obnoxious to me. I had been obnoxious in return. He thought I was pretentious. I thought he was obnoxious. Both were true. And he gave me his screen name, and I didn't add it to my list. And I'll never forget, his screen name was Hillbilly Persian. Then all of a sudden, somebody, like maybe 2 weeks later, messages me out of the blue. I'm sitting in front of my computer, and they're like, who is this? I added you to my buddy list. I don't know who this is. And I'm like, this is Renee. Who's this? And I knew who it was, but I was like, I'm going to make him tell me because damn it, whatever. So, and then it turned into like a 2-hour discussion. And it was a super fun discussion. And as we were talking, he started messaging all my friends, and he was like, so I want to take Renee out on a date, and I want to impress her. She seems hard to impress. what should I do? And a bunch of my friends were like, you should take her to see the first Harry Potter movie, because that's how long ago that was. It was that Harry Potter was out in movie theaters, and take her for food that she's never had before. And I had never had Persian food before. So he took me out for Persian food and the first Harry Potter movie, and then a meteor shower. And then he didn't call me for 2 weeks, guys.
Yeah.
Which probably sealed the deal.
I was so pissed. All of my friends were like, I'm so tired of listening to you talk about this guy. I was 18.
He wooed me with meteorites.
That's so romantic. I feel like I'm always talking about how I met my husband, but it just was so creepy, because it really was what Adrienne was saying, like the sun like shone through the clouds, and I saw him on the very first day of high school, and I'd watched his house being built before he moved in, as one does. And so I yelled at him, "Hey, you, I know where you live," really loud. And he didn't talk to me for a while, and we carpooled every day, and he just didn't speak to me.
My favorite is because her husband he's wonderful, such a great guy. I just picture Roshani like eagerly, like as she's sort of leaning into the camera, being like, I know where you live. And I picture her husband going like this for 6 months.
He did. He really was like, huh. And I was just like, it has been foretold.
Like, let me love you.
Truly very. Yeah.
You know what I just realized though, Rosh? You and I both decided before the gentleman knew it that we were going to make them ours, and we did. Because I did. I was like, oh, I'm going to make this guy mine, and I
truly. I was like, I have embarrassed myself so much. There is only one solution. We must marry and unite our kingdoms into peace. Like, obviously.
All right. Here's a really, well, it might be a quick question, but if you could make a candle inspired by your book, what scents would be in it?
Dude, wood smoke and bergamot.
Ooh.
Sultry.
I like it. I'd like something warm and spicy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what our books could smell like, or like
Yeah.
Like a candle for your book, inspired by.
Yeah. What would you do?
Like, you know, Icy Designs has some.
Oh, I love her. Yeah.
Best
So I guess it would be something rosemary for remembrance, because also it appears in a lot of tombstones, and then something else. Eucalyptus, no. Mint? Something?
Amber. I think amber scents when I think of your books.
Ooh, that is prettier. Yeah, I do like that.
It's not just it's warm, and it's got that intoxicating like note to it, and you're not quite sure what it is, and it smells a little bit like melted sugar, slowly melting sugar.
What the? I'm gonna write that down. Hold on. I like that. Good description. Good job.
Mine, I mean, the obvious thing is that it would be something like ocean scented, I guess, like maybe like cypress, like some sea, but some like an earthiness to it, you know?
I love that. I would buy all these candles immediately.
All right, let's get another audience question. Okay, to all, what led to the original idea for your novel, and what about your story gripped you and helped carry you through to continue writing it?
Mine is I got the I tend to get ideas through an image, and just like a kind of a sudden, very detailed image in my mind. And for Fable, it was this girl standing on a beach, and she's watching a ship sail away. And I know, looking on this scene, that her father is on it and he's not coming back. But I don't know why. And I don't know who she is. I don't know why she's there. That's kind of how my process begins. And then as I'm developing a story, I'm kind of starting to answer those questions. So for Fable, this all happened right after I lost my dad, and he had just passed away a few weeks before. And developing and writing the book really became so much about my grief and about kind of like grappling with the permanence of death and all of that. And so that really is what carried me through. Not to make it sound like super depressing, because it actually wasn't a depressing experience. I've never had as much fun writing a book as I have Fable, but I was doing a lot of work, inner work, like while I was writing it, which I think a lot of writers do that. They're kind of working through things, as they're writing. And that was definitely true for this book for me.
That's amazing. I love that. I think The Gilded Wolves started off as something that I just wanted to have fun with. I wanted to explore and wander around through an era that I thought was beautiful. What ended up happening was just like this exploration of how objects get to museums, colonialism, of course, me trying to rewrite National Treasure. I'm inspired by Nicolas Cage, against my will, I might add, which is why the second book is dedicated to him. And then The Silvered Serpents, as you get to the end of it, you realize that I've tricked you all. Welcome to my fan fiction of the Book of Job. I hope you enjoy. Also, my character is like, it was working, and it's like, I'm dying. I'll be right back. I'm listening.
So for The Beautiful and the Damned, and to answer some questions that people have had, the Damned is not the end. There are more books coming. For me, it was a scene out of The Queen of the Damned, which is the third book in Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles. There's a scene where a character goes in modern days into a home that's existed since the 1700s and starts peeling back layers of wallpaper to get at something she knows is at the very bottom of the plaster, basically. And she's sort of, she's obsessed as she's doing this because she's trying to prove herself correct about what had happened in the past. And like finding that tether to the past was going to help answer so many questions about her present. And as she's peeling away the layers of wallpaper, she's being haunted by the ghost of a dead vampire. And I remember reading this scene and being hypnotized by it. I like it would, even still when I think about the first time I read the scene, like chills were going down my spine. I was, at the time I was 13 years old. I loved this passage so much. And this is the book that made me fall in love with writing. I was already a really avid reader. And that has always been sort of like a reach goal for me, to write a scene that's that immersive, that transportive, that hypnotic. And I remember pulling back for the first time and trying to think to myself, how did someone do this? And I think about that scene a lot when I'm writing. What was it that transported me, and what can I do to give my readers that experience? Because it's what I love to read in books.
Such lovely answers. Oh my gosh, what do I go to next? All right. Okay. If you could bring one of your characters into this world and make them real, who would it be? And what would you do with them if we're pretending that COVID isn't happening in this scenario?
So my first semi-autobiographical character is a half-dead demon horse named Kamala, which appears in the Star-Touched Queen. So she's like half alive and pretty, and then half like and dead. Okay, so I would really like to bring her out. One of my favorite places in Atlanta is the Oakland Cemetery. And I would just like to sort of ride around in something like shroudy and whatnot and just say really cryptic things, or maybe choose somebody that I hate and have everybody pay off everybody around them to pretend that they don't see me, and then narrate their day to them. So that it's for an apple, it would be his last, or all this sort of, this thing would be funny. It's really specific. Obviously, I hate some.
I was gonna say that was so detailed.
It's so detailed that I feel like you thought about this beforehand, and it's wonderful, delightfully disturbing. That's Roshani, delightfully disturbing.
I really did think about, yeah, well, my brother and my husband was in a frat, and they were just like, what should we do to the pledges? My idea was have somebody dress up as the Grim Reaper and just narrate their day to them as they. Nobody went for it. It's nonsense. This is what's wrong.
I'm shocked that a bunch of frat boys did not go for that.
I will have my way. One way. One day. Who goes next? Adrienne.
Yes. I mean, if I'm talking about Fable, I think I would have Oscar come to life. He's on the crew and he's a little side character. But the whole time I was writing the book, anytime he was in a scene, I just always was like, me and Oscar would be friends. We would be buds. We would go to coffee. We would take the train downtown to the independent movie theater and be all pretentious. So I just loved him. And he's the one I would want to just hang out with.
So I feel like the correct answer for me is Bastion, but I feel like if I brought him to life, I would be super creepy. I wouldn't know what to say because the way I envision him is so beautiful that I would be like.
I think
for like a long
part of the question was, what would you do with them?
I already said brothely things. We can say that brothely things. But I think honestly, I would say Arjun. And the reason I would say Arjun is, and this is coming out in the next book. It's sort of been seeded in the first two books. Arjun is a cook. Arjun really enjoys cooking, and I love it when sexy men cook for me.
Arjun seems super sexy.
I like that. All right. Let's throw one more question from the audience, and then we'll wrap it up because, oh my gosh, the hour is almost up. How? All right. Something quick. Ooh, this one's fun. Okay. If you could rewrite or write a story about any superhero, who would that be?
Any superhero?
Yes.
I would rewrite Superman. I've never loved the story of Superman because I think his weakness is bullshit. And also, I would write Superman as not a white guy.
Well, I mean, technically, his creator is Jewish and wrote him as Jewish, but obviously, DC and everything decided that wasn't going to fly. So
Yeah. No, okay. I would stand my guns. What was it? Stand my guns. What's the phrase? I can't talk.
I don't know.
Stand your guns.
Hilarious.
I have no idea. I'm really thinking about it. I don't know who I would write.
I would love to see you tackle Aquaman and make it your own, or Mera or something. Make it interesting because that movie was so freaking bad and I hated it.
I was so disappointed.
Tackle Aquaman. I don't mean do brothel-y things with Aquaman. Well, anyway.
I was so disappointed with that movie, and I felt like the trailer was so misleading.
Yeah.
The trailer looked like there was going to be all these cool graphics and whatever, and the lightning on the wave, and all that stuff, and then it totally didn't deliver. So I actually would love to rate that one.
Do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will.
What was I gonna do? He's not exactly a superhero, but one of my absolute favorite movies is Constantine with Keanu Reeves, and he's technically a DC character. I don't know if he would be considered a hero, but I just really liked him. I just thought it was cool, and he fought demons. What?
He's sort of the beta version of John Wick, if you think about it.
Oh my God, he totally is. Boo. I do love that. Also, this reminded me, this is nothing to do with anything, but if you want a book that has to deal with writing superheroes and also radio dramas and also Jewish characters, one of my absolute favorite books is The Adventures of Cavalier and Clay by Michael Caban. And it is outstanding. I think everybody would love it. It's really good.
Add it to our list. All right. So, unfortunately, we have come to the end of our time, and even though I feel like we could probably go on for multiple hours, we all probably have stuff to do. So I just wanted to thank you guys, our wonderful authors here tonight, for joining us and giving us a bunch of laughs. And the video should be available to rewatch. As long you're here and everything, it should be available to rewatch. So if you ever need a little laugh or a giggle, it'll be there for you. And really briefly, I did want to mention Bookmarks is collaborating with the Forsyth County Public Library for its annual Teentober celebration. So it's a bunch of events this month, October. We're finally in the spooky month. To celebrate the teen community with a host of programs geared to fuel their passions in and outside of the library. So if you go to their website, forsythlibrary.org, you can join in on the fun. They have a month-long challenge and several fun virtual activities planned. Amongst those, we are going to be hosting Tracy Dion, author of Legend Born, which is a phenomenal book. Speaking of Excalibur, kind of. So it's going to be pretty wonderful. But that is going to be, gosh, make sure I have the exact right date for y'all. But that is going to be a fun event. I don't know if anybody has read Legend Born in the chat yet. If you haven't, you should. It's phenomenal. Somebody says, love how Roshani lit up at spooky month.
Oh, yeah. Hello. Allow me to haunt you, please.
But yeah, let me just make sure I give y'all the exact right date for that one. That is going to be the 13th at 6:30 p.m. So Tuesday, not next Tuesday, but the Tuesday after that. And it's going to be so much fun. It's going to be delightful. I'm excited to get y'all to meet Tracy and everything. And once again, thank you so much, you guys. It was a delight to finally meet you, Adrienne, and to meet you guys again, Renee and Roshani. I miss you guys. Hopefully we'll have you all.
Thank you everyone for hanging out with us on a random night. This was awesome.
It was fantastic. A round of applause for us. Everybody clap. Adrienne, clap. Do it. Renee, you're not clapping. Okay, yeah. Okay, good. We win.
Adrienne to sit there the whole time like this. Continue.
Adrienne's like, I'm not going to clap. I'm like, do it. All right.
But hopefully this will, get better, and we'll be able to have you guys at the festival next year, and it'll be a delight.
Okay.
All around.
All
right.
Again, Kat.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank
Everyone.
Okay, just end it. So I'm going to click end broadcast now. Bye, y'all.
Bye.